Hello everyone, welcome back to Homestuck. Last time, I think we got to the Vriska-Mina conversation here. Although they did talk. The two Vriskas didn't talk like you see in this picture. We are now getting... Oh, it actually shows you which ones you've done. Visually like this. That makes sense. Now we're going to Roxy and Calliope. So, let's just do it. If you're enjoying Homestuck, like and subscribe. You can become a member to see these episodes a week early. We are getting close to the end, so if you only wanted to see the finale a week early, we're getting pretty close to that. I don't know exactly when. Probably not next week, but maybe the week after. Whew. So let's go. Are we going? Okay. There we go. Here we are.
Hey, hope you don't mind I pulled you off to the side like this, away from other nice pals for a little 1+1 rocks and cow time. I might be greedy as shit.
I don't mind at all. I'm still getting used to the concept of an in-person socialization at all, let alone with many people. And yes, you may be greedy, but if so, then so am I by the exact same standard.
Fuck yes. Like a couple of friendship burglars picking each other's pockets all shifty-eyed and looking out for cops. But also giggling, I guess, because that is the spirit of the scenario in question.
Hee, yes.
I can't believe you're really here. It hardly seems real. After all these years and how you were just like a mystery friend online, and then how worried I was we might lose you for good. But now, wow.
I know.
So you and Jane and Jade were hanging out.
Yes, it was great. We drew and told stories. I heard you died, so I was holding out some hope that you would show up too. And you did eventually. Just not the version of you I expected. I never dared to think you would bring me this gift.
Well, I swore I would, and then John kinda double swore that he would help. Damn, that kid is persistent.
I like him. He is easy to talk to.
Yeah.
I've read about him, of course. The reality of someone standing in front of you is quite different from what you read about them in text. But then, I have no idea how accurate anything I read is anymore. I always believed I was in possession of the text which decoded your future, and I behaved toward all of you in that sly and knowing manner, avoiding spoilers and such. That was probably presumptuous of me, though. In hindsight, I clearly did not know that much. I certainly did not read anything about my own involvement. I never could have imagined being here. Well, it's because we changed the timeline. Maybe, I don't know.
You were still helpful, though. You were the force in our lives that gave us hope that we could all get together someday. Going down that road has been crazy, and by no means a smooth ride. I'm losing count of all the times it looked like everything was about to break or catch fire, or actually did break and catch fire, resulting in loads of dismay. But when you look back, every time things went to shit, there was always something constructive about that turn of events. Something that was necessary for the good outcome to happen at all. So whenever something stupid happens, like some a-hole gets a bonehead idea to steal a ring, and then everyone dies horribly and at the time you think you're just gonna curl up and cry yourself into weeping non-existence, maybe those aren't even bad realities. Maybe they are as important as any. And so are all the experiences that you had in them, and so are the experience of everyone who died, because you don't just get to say your experiences are more important or significant just because you happen to be someone who survived longer. I guess what I'm saying is, I'm grateful you let me in on this adventure, and not even in spite of the hardship it involved. I just had a little time to think about it in the Firefly Nothing space, and I think all of it was good.
I'm happy to know that I could play such a role in your lives. I don't know if I deserve much credit for these positive revelations about your journey, though. You are the one who's been on the adventure. I have barely taken my first step. I spent all my life in my room, and then every moment in the afterlife cowering in fear. It's only now that true participation is even a possibility. But even so, I really doubt I'll have much to offer. My other self, who I just released, I think she is poised to do something much more significant.
What do you think she'll do?
Shall do. It's she'll, I know, but it's funny. I have no clue.
But she told you to live, right?
Yes.
by which I can only assume she meant, yo, live it up, girl, like, go shopping or something, or rocket down the highway in a convertible with cash flying out the back.
That is not the sort of sentiment I can imagine coming from her under any circumstance. But yes, maybe something to the effect of encouraging me to enjoy my existence, as communicated by a more typical, truly asocial member of my species. Really, what I took from it was, she is the real one, with all the power and relevance now. I am the spare, a civilian in a sense, like in a war, and the only use for civilians from a militaristic mindset are as those who live their lives in whatever completely irrelevant way they choose to. They are the collateral at stake, the ones for whom the war is theoretically fought, but whose lifestyles, choices, happiness, and such hold no concern whatsoever for those fighting on their behalf. This is, the mindset of cherubs of her alignment. As protectors, it is the relationship they have with those they protect. And so that is probably the relationship she believes she has with me.
You make it sound like she's the legit Callie and you're the afterthought. Like the one from the funky reality that didn't go right.
Technically, her timeline was doomed by her predomination alone. Even so, yes, it does feel as though my reality was the oddity. Cherubs were never supposed to grow up like me, exposed to other caring people and learning from them. It made me different and unfit to predominate, yet ironically, this was requisite for the timeline's success, and it was necessary for you all to begin your journey as well. Give me a second. Okay. It's a lot of Roxy. Okay.
So, this seems like an example of what I was just saying, actually. The story of the two Callies. Neither's really more important, and your timelines can't really be described as the good one or the bad one. There was good and bad things about both ways stuff went down, and different qualities to the people you became. Her life sounds like it was harsh and lonely in its own way, but it sort of paid off because she got to beat her brother, but then got arbitrarily punished for that outcome because it wasn't supposed to happen. And then you get to meet her and free her or something, so she presumably gets to go off and do something badass. Then there's you, who had probably an even more challenging upbringing, getting so hassled by your bro, and he killed you, I guess, because the way the deck was shuffled, he had the edge this time. But the upside, was you got to have all these great friends who cared about you, and it helped you become the nice person you are, who means a lot to other people. And now, you get to live whatever kind of life you want, and be completely free from all the crummy stuff you grew up with. Who cares if you aren't as strong as her, or you don't have wicked power she does, or some important mission to do? You both came from perfectly legitimate realities, and IMHO, in my humble opinion, you are both equally valuable. And both of those realities seem to be tied together. She can't do her mysterious badass thing unless you make it all the way through your journey to free her. And your reality was the thing set on the stage for this huge multiversal vortex of problems which after a kajillion fucking epochs, she was always meant to resolve in some way. And that doesn't mean your life was like a means to an end in a big cosmic sense. I think it's more like you are the end, or the one of the ends. You and me and everyone who made it, and everyone who didn't. So that means you don't have to be able to do a lot of special super shit to validate your identity as the real version of yourself. The only validation you need is being who you are, because no one can be that person but you.
Those are very inspiring things to hear, Roxy. I hope you are right, but even so, I think I would still like to be useful.
You can be! You can help me out!
How?
I know you aren't God tier or anything, or probably never did get much in touch with your aspect, but maybe that doesn't matter. You are space, right?
Yes, a muse of space.
Sounds cool.
It is cool, I think, especially having seen what I could have been.
No, but the potential has to be inside of you somewhere. Actually, it's one reason why I wanted you to be here with me for a while, aside from to catch up a bit, smile.
What do you need me to do?
Nothing really, just be here with me while I try this. I don't know, but I feel like your presence will help. And if nothing else, I just like having you here. Makes me feel better about trying to focus on this weird little chore.
But you think my aspect is relevant?
Maybe. I think space is related in some abstract way I can't put my finger on. I gotta make this egg, see?
You? I know it's a smiley, but I gotta do something for people that just listen. But it is... wrong voice.
But it isn't really just an egg, it's this hella complicated egg in both its biological design and everything it represents for the future of an entire civilization. And I don't have the genetic, or chemical, or molecular blueprints for it or anything. I just have to figure it out using just thought. Like, ideas. Ideas that are really basic and live in this primordial sort of quasi-consciousness. So I have to build the idea of this egg in some way before I do anything, which means trying to grasp its reality and what it represents. It's like a funky little construct of biological propagation.
Okay.
And I think that intersects with the nature of space, at least as we've come to understand it. The propagation of space is really just some profound cosmological feat of reproduction. That is, a literally biological process, right?
Pretty much.
So to make this egg as a rogue avoid what I'm really doing here is something kind of insane. You yourself told me once I'd be able to do this crazy shit.
I did.
I'll be like probing nothingness for an idea. A pretty complicated idea in this case. And pulling that idea from unreality. So maybe if I'm right and a closer connection to the nature of space will help me locate that idea, almost like standing next to an antenna to boost the signal of that idea, then maybe my chances will be better. And hey, even if not, it's nice just having a friend nearby while I try to do something hard.
Smile. Okay, well, that happened. They're happy. Terezi, Rose, John, Jane. This is going to be interesting.
What do you think they're talking about over there?
I suspect Roxy wanted some time to catch up with an old friend. I'm sure I would want the same if I hadn't just had an extensive reunion with her myself.
Yeah, I guess we should all just chill out and give them a moment. It isn't quite time to head to our battle stations yet, so we might as well try to relax until it is.
I imagine it's been a lot easier to relax when another version of yourself hasn't been hijacked by your dead cat.
Yeah, it probably is. Maybe you should try not to let her bug you, Rose. She's just harmless enough. Plus, she's pretty funny.
Sounds suspiciously like the advice of someone who's never had to deal with an outlandish alternate version of himself.
Hey, I've bumped into another few Johns a few times. I can't say the experience has been anything other than perfectly agreeable.
You mean Johns that were essentially time duplicates in the course of your retcon quest?
Yeah.
Those don't count. Those were just regular Johns. What I'm saying is you never had to deal with the John who was like half Harry Anderson and half Maplehoof the dear departed pony.
Wow, that sounds great.
Come to think of it, you're the only one of us who hasn't. I mean, of our original group of friends. Dave had Bird Dave, Jade had Dog Jade, and now I have... Cat Rose. Why were you let off the hook?
I don't know. Guess you guys are just luckier than me. Smile.
Even putting aside the wildly unwelcome body horror slapstick routine she represents, and the machine gun salvo of opprobrious remarks and conduct which my cat is apparently capable of releasing from my subconscious, I'm not sure where this leaves me.
What do you mean?
I felt like I understood my place. I'd gotten myself in order somewhat. My, beverage decisions had gotten more reasonable. I was ready to bear down and play my part in finishing this. I could even handle a stray rose sprite brought to my doorstep by my sweet imbecile of a pet. Idiotic though it was, I was still pretty clearly Rose Prime, but I can't really claim that now. She's a sprite squared? How is that even a thing? Can someone tell me how that's even a thing? I can't tell you how that's even a thing. I think we're all just as flabbergasted as you are at its thinginess. What's next? Is there Sprite cubed? Or a... Let's not even entertain this avenue of thought. The point is, she must be quite powerful, insightful, and, in spite of the beast she rents headspace out to, intelligent as well. Doesn't she arguably have more claim to being real Rose than I do?
I don't think being the real Rose necessarily means being the one who's more outgoing and chatty and powerful and stuff. I'm not sure it really means anything. I think we should try to drop the stuff about who's the real version of who anyway. It's weird that it
It's weird and it just hurts people's feelings.
I don't care if my feelings are hurt, though. I just want to know where I stand.
I really don't think she's that threatening to you. Believe me, you still seem like the Rose I always knew, whereas she, doesn't quite. Seems to me she's a lot more interested in having fun and zipping around like a silly lunatic than usurping you as the main Rose.
Sure, that's what she wants you to think.
But why do you care? I thought I heard the other Rose say before she was a cat that she liked the idea of being some sort of backup Rose. Do you not feel that way too?
That was a different context. I probably would have felt the same way if I found myself in her exact situation. Jasperos changes everything, though. Now I feel a certain responsibility, like I have to really step up.
Step up?
Yes, to make sure I stay regarded as the exemplary model, to provide assurance that the concept of roseness itself doesn't degrade due to black market peddlers of substandard shit. Basically, I need to defend the integrity of the brand.
Oh my god!
What?
Nothing. I just miss you so much. Although I think maybe you've been hanging out with Dave too much.
My brand missed you too, John.
Your brand has good taste in friends. And kicks ass.
Nerds!
Hey, how do you think Kanaya and Karkat are doing?
They're probably getting a stern earful of roiling monster patoys right about now.
Patoys?
Do you think they'll be successful?
At what?
At, talking to a monster? I don't know.
I think Karkat will successfully fail to understand the monster, and possibly also successfully shout at the monster. Kanai, I think, will probably successfully do something sensible in response to whatever the monster demands.
So, you think they're going to pull it off then?
I'm still not sure what it is, but yes.
Well, the idea was to release the frog, I think.
You think so?
That's what Vriska said.
Vriska says a lot of things. That's the basic idea, yes, but monsters can be complicated. Regardless, I think the right person was summoned to handle it.
You really trust Kanaya, don't you?
Sure.
Not to change the subject too hard into something maybe you don't want to talk about because of your brand, but I think you make a nice couple.
You do?
Yes, I thought so last time I was hanging out with you both. In the screwed up timeline, but I didn't say anything then. I think it's still true, though. I'm glad I didn't change when I retconned some things.
I am, too.
Maybe that means it's a strong relationship. If it can survive... God, whatever the hell just happened. A hard 3-year reboot, and then sudden presence of Vriska?
When you put it that way, it really does sound like you're trying to fuck us up.
Nerds! Thanks, Terezi, for your input. I'm glad. Okay, Sean's gonna talk to her.
Terezi, shush!
What? I've just been minding my own business, and in no way whatsoever saying anything directed at a couple of silly nerds saying dorky things.
No, you said nerds twice. You always say nerds when in earshot of people who are just being friendly.
Isn't it weird how you're making this observation, and no one else is?
What? No.
Meaning, maybe I only say it when the pair of nerds in earshot happens to include you. Spades.
What was that look?
What look?
That look you just gave me.
I didn't give you a look, dumbass. Or dingus. Okay, whatever.
Yes, you did. Don't look at me like that.
Whatever look you think I gave you, it was in your imagination. It is possible you may be flattering yourself, Egbert.
No, whatever. Hey, what are you even still doing here? Weren't you going to get with Dave and get ready for battle?
Yeah, I'm just giving him and his bro some time to themselves first. I'm sure they could use it. And whatever the hell is going on between them, the last thing I want to do is involve myself. That sounds even more awkward than lingering around, you goofy bunch of nerds, being all cute and mushy with your human family and friendship stuff. I should have added a period in there somewhere, but I couldn't find a good place.
Yeah, you sure do sound off-put by it. All hanging on our every word and such.
It takes a will of iron, trust me.
But, yeah, I actually do agree. It does seem pretty awkward to be around Dave and his bro while they, get to know each other, I guess.
Yup.
I'm not sure how well Dave ever really even knew his adult bro, actually. Aside from bogusly idolizing him in a way that was really transparent that he didn't. I wonder... I wonder how different Dirk is from him, if at all.
I wouldn't be the one to ask.
What do you think, Rose?
I don't think there's anyone who can answer that. I suspect literally no one in the history of anywhere has ever met both people, until, as of now, Dave himself.
I hope Dave's okay.
I'm fucking not okay, okay? Somebody help me out here. Just Roxy. That's interesting. She's gonna talk to herself. This is gonna be a scene where she makes the egg, right? Ooh, we're meditating. Whoa, the cosmos. Yes, Roxy. Hey, it's Alternia. Whoa, ancestors. Remember when that was a thing? Whoa, mother grub. Whoa, matriorb. Boop. There you go.
Yes! Yes! Hell yes! Hell yes!
Da 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 da. Egg. Cool. Oh, and they're flying away now. Where are they going? Also, Jaspro Sprite wasn't here. The heck. Alright, well now it's Jaspros and Jake? Okay. No, that's not Jake, that's Jane. I know the difference, definitely. Okay, now Jaspros is here. Was that picture in the wrong place? Because that feels like that's this conversation. I don't know, I guess we'll find out.
It's me again. Brr, brr, brr. Cut sounds, stretch. Miss me, Rose? Did you know that I love you?
Oh, God, it's Roxy. It needs to be
Jaspers.
It's okay, Jaspers.
No, that's more Roxy than before. I don't know.
Did you know that I love you? Weird thing for you to say and for you to hear, probably. I inherited this adoration of our cat had for you, which is now strangely directed with the exact same intensity at myself because I'm you.
Okay, there we go.
Funnily enough, this manifests itself in a particularly acute form of narcissism, which is something we were already sort of afflicted by, and so was our cat by the very nature of the sort of animal he was. The bottom line is I'm pretty twisted up inside in the most beautiful ways, and it's wonderful.
It really isn't.
As much as I enjoy getting a load of that gorgeous whiskerless mug of yours, it's not actually why I dropped by. I'm here on a curt matter of business with Jane.
Huh?
We have to prepare for our healing duties, hammer out the strategy and such, really sink our claws into the extensive upholstery of that problem. But first I have somewhere to take you.
What? Where?
There is someone you really must meet before we all start skittering across the great laminated floor of combat. As the ghostly spiritual guide of whomever my whims decide I should be serving at any moment, I can't allow another second to pass without introducing the two of you.
Ooh!
This way, meow.
That's a lot. Oh, it's the floating balloons on Jane's planet. Okay. Ouch! There's Nana. Woohoo! Okay, well, that happened. Oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do another Roxy Calliope conversation. Well, looks like I'm gonna have to. We're not out of time for the episode yet.
You stay here with the others while all this blows over.
With who exactly?
Jade, she's sleeping. Keep an eye on her, Kay?
Yes, of course. I'd be happy to.
Also, a man they call the mayor's here. I don't know much about the dude myself, but apparently he is the hell of a guy. So give him my regards.
I will. This is the... What a kooky group of people. Calliope, Jade, and Mr. Mayor.
Okay, bye. So, yeah, if we make it through this, I'll come back for you, and then we figure out what happens next.
I can't wait.
Hope you're still not sick of it hearing yet, or sick of hearing it yet, but I'm still so psyched you're here with us.
Of course I'm not sick of it.
It's just, Durg. Kelly, in times such as these, you know, words have trouble cutting it. Come here.
Don't drop the A.
Keep me in your thoughts, Kay. In the luckiest and magicest way you know how.
I will, Roxy. Smile.
No, if you'll excuse me. I've got a delivery to make.
Alright, that wasn't too bad. Now we go to Dave and Dirk. I totally forgot. Okay, I was back watching some of the older episodes the other day. I can't remember exactly why. I was trying to find a specific conversation, I think. And I forgot I gave Dirk this voice originally, and I just totally forgot about it and started doing Dave again. It's very funny, because that's what Arqueus's voice ended up being. So it all came back around. And they were mostly talking to Arqueus in the early episodes anyway. Well, AR anyway. So, kind of works out. Anyway, maybe we should get this, go over this again, because honestly I'm not sure I get it. What? Who are we actually fighting again? Jack Noir? Well, yeah. There's one version of Noir. There's a shitload of them, though. One version of Noir. There's a shitload of them, though. Which one is this? He's yours. Ours? Yeah, the one from your session. But our Jack spent months in prison. Well, guess he broke out. It's kind of like a huge fucking deal now. When did that happen? I have no idea. I wasn't here. I guess neither was I. He's got Lord English powers, too. He's apparently, like, just wretched fucking news. Damn. He's gonna be hard to beat, even armed with the ultimate weapon, some swords. Sounds like some shit's going down. Let's not downplay our sword gambit, though. I have yet to encounter a problem where a sword didn't factor into the solution, at least in some way. I bet. Bear in mind, I haven't actually solved many problems over the course of my life, but the ones I have, man, swords proved hells of instrumental. What do you mean you didn't solve many problems? Didn't you, like, program robots and stuff? I guess I mean real problems involving people. Oh, those. Yeah, man, I get ya. So Jack has Lord English powers? Yup. Does that have anything to do with Jake? Not according to my current understanding of a mostly nonsensical body of information. Huh. What exactly does it mean, then? Not sure. Mostly that he's really hard to kill, I think. Okay, well, that's decent intel at least. He might be vulnerable to Welsh things, too. Don't quote me on that, because it'll make me sound like an idiot. Alright? Oh. Do you know when he arrives? I already said I don't. Right. Guesstimate? Not soon enough is my best guess, and I guess, also my opinion. No. Is, everything alright? Sure. It just seems like maybe you aren't that, into this. Or at least not as much as I was whenever I imagined the possibility of us meeting. Were you? Yeah, I guess I'm not doing a very good job of showing it now. I think that's probably just what I'm like, though. You don't say. I mean, when it comes to people in general, but probably especially people who are important parts of my life. So, you think I'm an important part of your life? Yes? You don't actually even know me, though. Not this me, and I'm pretty sure you didn't know the other guy either. That's true. What is it about me that's important, then? I'm not sure how to answer. Why? Because I'm getting the sense you might disapprove of whatever I might say. Maybe you'll think it's weird that I idolize some version of you that I never even knew. Idolized? See? Seems like you think it's weird. Ugh, yeah. I shouldn't have said anything. I don't know if it's weird, I just can't process it. Why? Because maybe anything to do with you, it might not be anything to do with you per se, but how I view my bro, and I gotta say, meeting you, it's not rocking my world here, or upending any paradigms or whatever. Listening to you and looking at you, it really just reminds me of him. I know you're different and all, and also like a kid, I guess, but you don't feel that different. And hearing anything like that, like about idolization, or like you were actually looking forward to this in a sincere way, it's kind of fucking jarring. Huh. So like, things between you and me from your perspective, Are we, like, not cool? Well, here's well, I guess. I didn't fucking like you that much, okay? Oh. Why not? Honestly, I don't know if I want to get into it. Okay. Sad. The clouds be moving. Wow, they really moving, okay. Okay, actually, maybe I will get into it. I don't know why my friends got to have adults around who cared about them. They complained bitterly about stuff, so I guess I convinced myself that they were all in the same boat as me. But that's not how it was. Their complaints were trumped up nonsense, and I bought it because, I don't know, I didn't have any frame of reference. But his dad and her mom, no matter what they said, it was so obvious they cared about them deeply. Even Jade's weird fucking grandpa who died when she was young obviously would have done anything for her. Why did I get such a raw cut of the asshole deck? And why did it take me so long to figure that out? And like, he's dead now, so that's that. So all that's left to do is look back and try to put the pieces together in my first 13 years. And all I can think is, what the fuck was that? I don't come away with the impression I used to try convincing myself of, that he was like mysterious or stern and aloof. The only feeling left is this insane impression that I was raised by somebody who fucking hated me. And the whole act of even raising a child was some totally fucked up game to him. Like parenthood was one of the highest tiers of irony in his solemn bullshit bro ninja code. So he went through the motions and did whatever he thought was funny or badass. But in that weird stylistic and totally sociopathic approach to parenting, I can't even imagine there was any emotion toward me other than some sort of loathing. What did he do? I don't want to get out the laundry list, but for reference, laundry wasn't one of those things. That was just one of the many little domestic things I just had to sort of figure out. Sort of like I eventually had to learn what the real purpose of a refrigerator was from movies. Wait. What? I don't know, there's too much to even get into, I don't remember the atmosphere not being nerve-wracking. All having to sneak around and, my shitty childhood spider senses are tingling just thinking about it. It was training, you know. But you know what it really was? But you know what it really was? It was some vicious shit that was bad and sucked and I hated it. It didn't make me stronger. It did the opposite. It made me never want to fight. It made me never want to see blood or be near danger or hear heavy metal sounds. Okay. It made me hate the idea of being a hero because he was a hero and he ruined the idea of heroism. I don't even want to be fighting this shitty version of Jack, but hey, nobody else has a secret Welsh power, so I guess I have to. What gets me is how long it took me to put all this shit together. To stop seeing it as some kind of roughhousey, eccentric life I had that was otherwise normal. It took years to deconstruct it all and put it back together to understand how fucking mad I should be. And in particular, how stone cold, deeply uncared for I was my whole life. Like being merely monitored by a violent robot. I only started getting it after spending a lot of time in person with a bunch of people who actually do care about me. And I could start feeling like actually somewhat human for the first time, instead of, I don't know, some sort of runty afterthought to a household cabal of smutty puppets. Puppets? The fucking puppets! I know it sounds like I'm not... I know how it sounds, but I am not joking, and there is no shred of doubt in my mind that he loved all those puppets more than me. Honestly, it's very possible he was just insane, and that's that. I guess it didn't help either that we lived with what we have come to understand may theoretically be the most evil doll to exist in any universe ever. In fact, it's my tenuous understanding that he came down to Earth with that thing and actually grew up with it. Maybe spending 30-some years being inseparable from that hell puppet had some effect on him. Maybe if I hadn't been casting... Not I. Maybe if it hadn't been casting a pall over our apartment 24/7 since he took me in, grinning and glaring and laughing in my sleep, maybe our lives wouldn't have been quite so... Maybe we would have... Ugh. What? You okay there? Yeah. That doll, that was Cal, right? Yeah. Right. My version is empty, apparently, whatever that means. Huh. How do you know that? A source. One supposedly quite knowledgeable in jujus. I never quite knew what that meant, though. Well, whatever his was, empty is never how I would have described it. Huh. Why did you phrase it like that? Man, I don't know if I figured something out here. Like,
explain something, or if I'm just driving myself crazy with this talk and nothing even needs explaining. It doesn't change my past or how I feel about him. He was still pretty much awful no matter what the reason, and I'm sure that's the only feeling I'll ever have about him, so who cares why it was like that? Yeah. That all sounds really bad. I don't know what to say, though. Maybe I shouldn't say anything, since I just remind you so much of him for, obvious reasons. I don't want to make you feel worse or make it sound like I'm offering a defense for him or me, because I don't have one for either of us. Come on, man. You didn't do anything. This was just some douchebag with your exact DNA who happened to grow up to be my hero. You had a completely different life full of, different choices and actions and stuff. And even if you were going to turn out like him, you barely cleared the halfway mark on actually chronologically getting there. In some way, ranting about all this is probably just uncool of me because you aren't him. You're not responsible for any of this shit, but sort of implicitly tacking it onto you anyway, so sorry about that. I'm not sure it's true, though. At least, I don't feel that way. What way? That I'm not him. The fact is I am. It's something I've come to understand about myself. All splinters of me are basically me, no matter how much I want to resist that truth, or pretend they aren't reflecting my own qualities back at me. I bear a certain responsibility for all of them. Splinters? Yeah, I guess the concept isn't that unique to me. We've all got other versions of ourselves running around here and there, throughout the various compartments of the messed up cosmos. Right. I just happen to be particularly connected to mine. I felt haunted by them. And what that really means is I'm perpetually haunted by my own bad qualities. So when I hear about stuff I did in another reality, I'm not sure what my adult self might have ever tried to do to atone for that stuff, if anything. Pretty much dick squat. Yeah, but in any case, I'm sure I was completely in the wrong, and I'm sorry I messed up your life. Thanks, but it still feels a little odd accepting an apology from somebody who I've just met and technically had nothing to do with my life. Even if you do feel guilty splinter ways or whatever, it's just a messed up situation. And I guess I had to vent. There was never anyone I wanted to say all that to, and the only thing that was going to drag it out of me, I guess, was like a teen stand-in phantom of my dead bro. Just some perfectly innocent dude having to take the brunt of all this shit. I'm not particularly innocent, though. I messed up a lot of things with my friends. Honestly, that's why I wasn't that bent on sticking around when I showed up. I pretty much jumped at the offer of flying here to get ready for some yet-to-be-explained battle. Battles are easy. Just you, a sword, and some bad guys. It's a lot simpler than having to answer for the things you've done. For the most part, I feel pretty bad about the role I played in all my friends' lives, especially Jake. What happened there? I don't know. An unmitigated disaster for which I'm entirely to blame? It's not any one thing. I think I was just completely a toxic element of his life from day one. I don't know what he's doing now. I wouldn't be surprised if he was trying to avoid me as much as possible. I'm sure that's for the best. I think I need to stay out of his business for a good while, so I don't risk poisoning another innocent kid's life, like I did with yours, apparently. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's a little different, because relations between peers is a whole other thing. It's tricky shit, and you're both figuring stuff out on a relative equal footing. Like you're both at the same point in your lives. It's not like there's when one person is older and is supposed to be a lot more... Ugh. Never mind. It's a fucked up thing to think about. But the bottom line is, yeah, laying low while you sort stuff out can't hurt. Right. The thing with that, with my adult self's ways, the sad thing is I can really see it. How someone like me can go unchecked in life and turn out to be a much worse person than I already am. I guess I'm just relieved I still have time to make sure that doesn't actually happen. You don't actually seem like a bad person to me, though. No? Nah. Why not? We did just meet, after all. Because I don't know if truly bad people wrestle so much with whether they're good or bad. I think if I ever sensed my bro, struggled at all with what he was doing or who he was, or showed any sort of doubt, it might have changed everything. But there was never a crack in it, or the slightest hint of introspection behind the aggressive cool dude facade. If there was, I sure never noticed. I mean, personally. I think about it all the time now, what it actually means to be good or bad, or if not something that's starkly moral, or at least just trying to examine the difference between being decent and being a douche. Maybe it's because of him I worry about that now. But for me, I think the internal struggle is kind of mild. For him, or for you, I mean, it sounds like some pretty dark shit. Like grappling with becoming evil versus simply trying not to. Yeah, that's not too far off. But the point is, even just talking to you a little bit, it's obvious you've been fighting with that, which means that you care enough to put in some effort, and I think that counts for something. Maybe. I'm not sure if I'm ready to accept a pat on the back for recognizing I have some problems. I'm worrying about whether they'll destroy me and fuck up the people I care about. That might be setting the bar kind of low. Well, when it comes to the subject of him, the bar's already pretty low, dude. The weird thing, honestly, is that it's actually kind of refreshing to hear a sincerely leveled critique of all my negative qualities, coming from another person invested in a relationship with me, rather than a fucked up iteration of myself as some bizarre, trollish form of self-abuse. The only thing I've ever been exposed to are either various forms of self-loathing, either from me or my autoresponder, or attitudes completely oblivious to my real issue, as expressed through my friends. My friends always seemed to cut me so much slack, or were just never aware of the kind of person I really was. Well, Jake probably is by now at least. But he's also the sort of guy who's just as likely to blame himself for the stuff I did as he is to blame me. Jane and Roxy, though, never seemed to have anything wrong with me. Never seemed to see anything wrong with me. If anything, just the contrary. Roxy in particular had a certain fixation. She meant well, but was so enamored of me and seemingly everything I did, which I think was the last thing I needed. To be idolized in some form by other people I respected. I had enough of that feeling coming from within, particularly when I was younger. And since then I've been plagued by this insane ego of my youth, in this form of an artificial intelligence I designed, which essentially trapped that state of mind in a sort of horrid suspended animation. Until, recent developments, of course. So, was that stuff true? When you said you idolized the other version of me? Yeah. And not just some bullshit like how I used to say the same thing about my bro when I didn't know any better? It's definitely not like that. I never lived with him or met him, so I couldn't have anything like the contentious relationship you have with my older self. He was a historical figure from centuries ago. There was a lot to admire, and think about fondly, especially since I was alone and never had any direct contact with another person, or any concept of civilization. So even though I'm sure I romanticized what his life was like, and the early 21st century in general, it was nice to think about you. I passed a lot of time that way. You said there was a lot to admire. Like what?
I mean, I kind of need to end the episode, so maybe we'll leave it on a cliffhanger there. This is a very interesting conversation. I think Dirk's being a little bit too self-critical, perhaps, but I mean, when faced with everything Dave is telling him, I could understand that. I mean, looking back on it, right? Like the first chapter, and like, you know, kind of going back and be like, yeah, actually, Dave's relationship with his parent was the most fucked up. And it's like, yeah, it's true. But, I mean, I know what he's saying, right? What he's getting at. And I'm not trying to be like, oh, he's got no right to suffering. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I think he, too, is romanticizing a bit the idea of having, like, a parent that cares for him in the same way Dirk is romanticizing having a parent at all. You know what I mean? Because obviously John's dad is, like, the best parent in the series. But like the other parents do bad things to the kids. And I know, like, okay, older Roxy, like Miss Lalonde, constantly drunk, and they're in this like one-upsmanship battle with each other. And I know that you could view it as it's just, you know, it's Roxy having fun in a way, where she's like always trying to prove to Rose that like, oh, we can have this sort of contentious dialogue. But, you know, the whole constantly drunk and running a secret facility in the background while really not looking over Rose much at all in this big house it isn't great. And Jade's grandpa, I mean, yikes. Handing her guns when she's like 5 years old and just like leaving her alone in this giant tower in the middle of the jungle. I mean, I know he died, but I mean before that, like he'd just go off and have a tea party in on a fucking hill with a bunch of mannequins, and then leave Jade alone in the middle of a field on a deserted island. Like it's not great either. Like, yeah, I mean, you could argue that like a lot of the strife in the early chapters was sort of like heightened reality versions of just having like a conflict with a parent, where it's like John's dad just wants him to eat the cake, and John is being obstinate and not wanting to eat the cake. But at the same time, like, they do fight. And it's not as brutal as Dave's, obviously. But at the same time, I like this character turn for Dave. I almost feel kind of bad because he's like the last character who needs more depth, I think. He's got so much depth already. And of all the parents to have sort of a fraught relationship with their ancestor, I suppose it would make the most sense for it to be Dave. Although I feel like Rose and Roxy, the problem is Roxy is so good. You know what I mean? Like, Roxy is such a good person that I would not buy a relationship where, like, it's harder to sell a relationship where Rose feels like neglected by her mother still. But I don't know, that could have been interesting, really. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting for sure. The idea that, well, I don't know. I almost don't like the fact that you can put all of Bro's evil traits into the fact that he was influenced by Cal. You know what I mean? Like, it makes it a little bit less personable that way. It's like, oh yeah, you know, he's basically exhibiting all of Caliborn's toxic traits of being like a misogynist and, you know, constantly gassing up the main guy as the hero, and oh, the hero doesn't need friends. Something as stupid as the and like the early stuff with Caliborn where it was like, oh, eat the baby. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I wonder how much the fan base had to do with this plot point in general. Because it feels like this section, I mean, it's unpacking a bunch of like the character drama that probably should have been playing out through the whole comic. But, you know, it's fine. I wonder how much of it is just addressing stuff that the fans have brought up before the end. You know what I mean? Because it feels like we're basically in wrap up all the plots mode right now. So, yeah, it's interesting. I don't know what to do for a question. Yeah, I don't know. Well, okay, this is a funny question, sure. It's a fun-loving version of this question. If you had to be fused, because this is going back to what Rose was talking about earlier in the episode, if you had to be fused with one of the non-character traits that the other sprites were fused with, so for example, you could choose to be fused with Jasper's, the bird for Dave Sprite, Beckerel for Jade Sprite, or I guess Nana is fused with a clown, and she's a human, so that the clown doll isn't on the table. Who else is left? I know there's one more. I have AR. I mean, AR is kind of Dirk, but also not really. You could choose to be fused with one of those, and which one would you pick? I mean, they all suck, right? But it seems like the clown doll is the best one because it allows you to retain your original personality. You do lose an arm, though. And an eye, I think. So it's not perfect, but I feel like that's probably the best one. The bird honestly didn't change Dave's sprite too much either, and you just get cool wings. So, maybe that's not too bad as well. Anyway, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye!